Back to Spence and the KVTA Morning Show.
Serving everyone from presidents and kings to the scum of the earth.
On Fox Sports, 1590 KVTA.
It is 8:38. We are here on KVTA with Cal State University Channel Islands Professor of Environmental Science and Resource Management, Sean Anderson. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, my friend. How goes all things?
Things are great over here. It's sad to see Cal State University Channel Islands, a little transition here, but...
oh, my God, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Things happen. You know, it's the political environment, everything that's going on for just about everybody these days. But this will not be our last conversation with you. We're definitely going to keep this up because as far as topics go, between the topic that we're going to be hitting today and just everything else, being a coastal community with your knowledge of the ocean and the islands, we look forward to future conversations with you.
Oh, thank you, brother. I look forward to it, too.
Yeah, so also on the line with us for this morning is Brenton Spies. Brenton, good morning.
Good morning, Spence. How are you?
I'm doing great. Assistant Professor of Environmental Science and Resource Management. You guys' business cards are like a read. You know, this is a sentence in more ways than one that they have given you. So it's great to have you both on board. Let's start off with Dr. Sean Anderson. Tell us what you teach at Cal State Channel Islands.
I teach too much. I teach everything under the sun. I teach conservation biology. Brent and I teach a lot of similar things. I teach management of the coast. I teach disaster classes like we're going to talk about today, and basic research, and really about getting kids field-oriented and hands-on oriented understanding our planet.
And Dr. Spies, let's talk about a couple of the classes that you instruct.
Yeah, like Sean said, I teach a lot of the similar courses that Sean teaches. I lead our undergraduate research program, our capstone program. So again, like Sean said, it's getting students involved in hands-on research, conservation-focused, environmental science-focused. I do a lot of work with endangered species management and recovery, so I try to involve a lot of that too, so students get able to get their hands wet with that as well.
Now, Sean, a lot of your work and a lot of the work of the campus, the university, is having the outdoor labs. And this area has provided us with a lot lately, including the tragedy of the fires. So tell us what you're doing with the projects on that.
Yeah, so we've been working on disaster and recovery from disasters, both for the people and the natural world, for about 20 years. My whole time since we've been here at Cal State Channel Islands started with Katrina. So we go to New Orleans, we go to Hawaii, we do all this kind of stuff, and it's really about one, first and foremost, helping folks, just showing up and lending our backs. Two, we tend to do well when we come in about 6 months after the disaster event happened, and that's really a great time because people's adrenaline has dropped. The money is sort of starting to wane. The media has gone away. People are starting to feel forgotten, and so this is both about materially helping folks out, but it's also about making sure they don't feel forgotten and that we still are following the story and we still are committed and invested in those folks recovering. And the birth seed, Brenton can talk about this, but the seed of this particular course, we're doing a course this summer on the recovery of the LA wildfires. But it started with our last course, which is in January, which is part of our ongoing work in Lahaina. And so we were flying out on January 7th to go out and begin 2 weeks' worth of work in and around Maui. And Brenton can sort of pick up the story from there.
Yeah, let's try. And this is an actual class that we're doing here.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so let's not only pick up from there, but just to show us how the fires affected you directly, and let's start off with Brandon, if we could. Where were you when the fires broke out?
Yeah, so I live in South Pasadena, Highland Park area, so we didn't have an immediate evacuation. We were impacted by the Eaton fire in Altadena. I sent Sean a text message that day because I was supposed to fly out to Lahaina to meet him for that class. And I had, just ash raining down on my home. We had about a 40-foot tree blow over at night, so I had to stay back and help my family out. My sister, unfortunately, lost her home. She and her husband had just bought their first home together a year before in Altadena. And so, that there's that direct impact with our family, but, our neighboring communities. I grew up in Los Angeles, so we knew many people that were impacted by these tragic wildfires.
And John, where were you? Were you at the campus?
So we literally were on an airplane flying. So my technician, Zach, my wife, Stacy, who teaches these classes with us, Dr. Stacy Anderson, we were actually in the air as the fire was breaking out.
Wow, that's something. And all of us got affected. We knew somebody, or between over the last 10 years, the fires that have devastated the area, we're all pretty fire aware at this point. And the more information we can get, the better. Let's talk about some things that were affected by the fire. And Brenton, you have been on the show before. You talked about that little fishy. Yeah. Was it the Tidewater goby?
Tidewater goby, yeah, the little fish that we rescued from Topanga Canyon in Malibu. So they're found on the beach in Topanga State Park, and they were directly impacted by the Palisades fire. So we went in about 10 days after the fire and rescued some of them, and we spoke on the show to your audience about that a couple of weeks ago, and they stayed in the aquarium in the Pacific and Gila Bay Aquarium for a few months. We re-released them, and part of this class, we took the students out there to do some surveys to see how they were doing. We did that last week, and there's thousands of them. So they not only are doing well, but they're reproducing now. There's thousands of them throughout the lagoon. The lagoon looks really, really clean. Still, remnants of fire debris and things like that around, but, good enough for them to start boosting numbers again, which is really exciting.
It's awesome. Gobies with babies. This is what we wanted to hear. So how many students are involved? What sort of services are they providing all around and for this particular project? We have about
8 students formally enrolled, and then we have about another 10 that are volunteering. So unfortunately, we had money. We had this structured as a course. Then because it's in the summertime, students have to pay extra fees. So we had some federal assistance for that. Unfortunately, all that was cut by the federal government a few weeks ago. And so rather than having the 40 students we have about any given day, we have about 12 to 16 students on any one day and any one project. So we're jumping between Topanga area, Palisades area, and Altadena area, and we rotate. And so we do a mix of monitoring. We're doing a lot of soil testing. That's one of the key things we can talk about that sort of come out of this particular fire. We're doing soil testing. We're doing soil remediation, so introducing mushrooms into the soil to see if we can take down some of the toxins. And even if that turns out to not really take down the toxins, it actually really helps the soil and makes it much more fertile. And then we're doing just the typical stuff of demolition, et cetera. We're mapping people's homes for them with drones so they can have stuff for their rebuilding or for their insurance claims or that kind of stuff. And then just general cleanup, demolition, helping people get back, starting to rebuild kind of stuff.
It's so interesting that not only the education for the students, but also the benefits for the public. So one of my favorite topics is money. This sounds like it's rather expensive, and some people believe, possibly, that, hey, you just turn on the faucet and they fund everything at the schools. So how is funding for projects like this that not only help the kids with their education, but also help the locals?
So we're hurting, quite honestly. So we've historically, how we've done this for the last 20 years, we have a model where school pays part of the trip cost, but students also have to pay. What we found is if you just give folks, say, a free trip out to the island or a free experience, as much as that sounds great, some people sort of don't have skin in the game, so they might wake up at 7 and go, oh, man, it's really early. Do I want to get on that boat? And they're like, it's good. I'll just go back to sleep. So by having students have at least, paying, a chunk of the costs, that makes it realistic. But if we had to have the students always pay all the costs, our students just are very close to the bone financially that they can't do these. These experiences are with cream on top of their regular education. They're not required. They really, really make it that much better. They really are life-changing, quite honestly, and they really help drive home these ideas that we're training them in the classroom. But nevertheless, it's just, so for example, New Orleans, it costs about $2,000 a person, and that's for airfare and basically 2 weeks in town and food and everything. So we do it really, really cheaply, really efficiently, but it's still, $2,000, $2,500 if you buy things. This particular course, students have to pay $1,000 registration fee because it's a summer course, but then everything else we sort of have taken care of. But nevertheless, it is still a barrier. So we do it really efficiently, and I should say, this is not like showing up and doing an hour's worth of work. This is dawn to dusk, and it's full-on work all the time. And then when we get back, there's usually data to process, several weeks of other stuff. So the students are doing a huge amount of work for a relatively modest amount of money. So I think we're very, very efficient in how we spend the money, but nevertheless, our funding sources are getting cut.
All right, so let's do a name a Goby for $25, and all that cash will go. So if you want to have a Goby named after you, your mom, your dad, or your girlfriend, boyfriend, let's do it.
Love it.
We got to raise money. That's what we have to do, especially for projects like this. I want to roll over something about rebuilding, and if you look at, just clean the stuff off and let's rebuild. But the soil is really affected by all of the new stuff that's in houses, because when they burn down, all of that stuff just drops down into the soil. Totally. How are we doing on that?
Yeah, so a lot of the homes, so a lot of the homes, especially in like Altadena, both Palisades and Altadena, we've been doing the soil remediation in Altadena. These homes were built in the early 1900s, 1910, 1920s, 30s, and so there's lead-based paints, there's asbestos, there's all kinds of toxins, even, your plastic pot outside that melts, it goes into the soil. And when the Army Corps came in this time around, they would just clear the property, the actual home. So they didn't clear your front yard, they didn't clear your side yard or your backyard, maybe where you had your garden, where you grew your vegetables. So there's still some toxins in there. And there has been some soil tests available. It's been difficult for homeowners to get access to those. It takes a lot of time for them to get those results back. So we're helping not just with the testing, but with this new type of remediation where you don't have to dig up all the soil. It costs a lot of money to scrape 6 inches off of your front yard, especially in larger plots. So sometimes you can get these mushrooms, they're oyster mushrooms, which we all, maybe love to eat when you go to your restaurant, or you can find them in your local market. But you can inoculate the soil with these mushrooms, and then you put fresh compost in, fresh mulch. You can find these for free from the city and from the county, and it starts rejuvenating the soil. Oyster mushrooms have been found to pull up a lot of toxins, especially like plastic-based, petroleum-based products. But even lead and trace metals, they can start sucking them up. So that's what we're trying to experiment in, providing these services to the community at a very low cost. And so that's kind of what we're shooting for, efficient and low cost.
All right, Sean, we got about 2 minutes for this one. You've led a lot of restoration projects before, Lahaina, New Orleans, here and there, in Los Angeles now. Let's talk about how that is working, the disasters from here to there, New Orleans, Hawaii once again, and here. Give us 2 minutes just to wrap on how those projects are doing.
Yeah, so New Orleans is going along quite well. Obviously it's 20 years, so it's been a long time. The average for rebuilding in the U.S. is somewhere for a large, like say wildfire that it knocks out a whole community, is something on the order of about 2.5 to 5 years. It depends on the community to really have the majority of your structures and community back. New Orleans was whacked really, really hard. It took them a bit longer. Some of the neighborhoods that we work there are still recovering, but nevertheless mostly back. Lahaina, extremely hurting. So in our January work this year, they just finished their essentially the majority of their remediation. The majority they're pulling off clearing the lots and all that kind of stuff. We are just at the early part of that process. I would say some of the lessons that we've seen in New Orleans have been incorporated into disaster since. Some of the lessons from our own desires, Thomas Fire, et cetera, we've seen them manifest those improvements, those learnings in Lahaina. And in fact, when this fire broke out they very specifically called us out and said, we want to thank specifically CAL FIRE, Ventura County Fire, and LA County Fire. Those groups, not so much on the direct putting out the flames, but in the wake of the fire, how do we navigate the bureaucracy? What do we do more efficiently? Have gotten much better. And so one quick example before we have to go off is it used to be everybody on their own. It used to be, hey, your house burned down, and then here's some list of contractors you can hire, and people don't know how to hire a contractor doing cleanup, whatever. What we really pioneered in the Thomas Fire, for example, was actually, don't worry about it. We're going to do it. We're going to set all up for you. You opt out if you don't want this. But basically, we'll take care of all the bills. We'll take care of the recharges and all that kind of stuff. And it massively sped the cleanup of people's houses, and it also reduced the stress for people. I'd say another key thing that we've learned is we've been so focused on costs and the physical damage, which are real concerns. We're paying more attention now to the mental health and the care and the support structures for folks that are impacted. And so that's also gotten a lot better over time.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you on air with us, Professor of Environmental Science and Resource Management, Sean Anderson, and also Assistant Professor of Environmental Science and Resource Management, Brenton Spies. Thank you very much. And when stuff comes up, we're going to be, reaching out to you guys to help us out with all the environmental issues we have in the community. Have a great day, and we'll talk again real soon.
Yeah, brother. Thank you so much. Thanks, Kim. Thanks to Kim Gregory, too. Thanks, too.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And away we go at 8:53.